My name is Diana Webley. I work at Harbourfront Centre for the last 15 years, going on 16 soon. I am the senior producer and interim manager right now for the cultural engagement department. So not only do I curate festivals, I'm also a lead producer, especially when partners come on. It just depends on what the assignment is. But for the most part, producing festivals, curating it from top to bottom. And that means seeking out the artists, doing my research, having them come to the site, engaging with them. And sometimes that includes mentorship and having a live event on our 10-acre site. Harbourfront Centre is a humongo campus. It is full of life and vibrancy, especially when we have programming on our site. And it's a hub for tourists, Torontonians, everyone at any time of the day, because we literally do not have doors or fences to our site. You can wander on our site and you may come up and find a busker. You may wander into our shop. We have a pond. We have entertainment. There's something for everyone. I think the benefits of having Harbourfront host various cultures is not only to bring these cultures to Toronto, but also for the cultures that live in Toronto, have their culture reflect back at them. And it's important for Harbourfront to bring various cultures is because we need to be exposed to it. We know the Canadian way of how we absorb information and what's out here, but it's also intriguing to figure out and see what all of our partners bring from where they're originally from. That's a huge benefit. It's to always stay on the pulse, to just be informed that way. My biggest thing is master your craft. Master your craft where you are, because it doesn't matter whether it's the language barrier. There's really no barrier once you master your craft. Continue to get your music out there or your artistry out there and to the level of professional development. And if you have not done that yet, grab a mentor, somebody you know in the industry to mentor you up to that point, because that's what's going to allow you to excel. Because once you come to the Canadian market, it's pretty diverse here. You will find your place as long as you master your craft. For anyone trying to branch out in the market, telling your own story, it needs to be unique. It's the stories that come straight from the heart is what really translates into making that your own to be successful. And we hear many stories, whether it's through music, visual arts, as long as you are being authentic in telling your stories, that goes a long way. And being authentic to yourself, it will always translate. And if you have any language barriers, there's other ways to communicate that. Whether it's through animation, visual arts, there's various ways to tell a story without language. And I know for a lot of Canadians, doing that here has helped them to catapult to other countries. So don't be afraid to branch out to others, because once you have that authentic story, it transcends to other mediums. So my advice would be find other creative ways to tell your story, because you could have been telling your story for the last 5 years. Maybe other people need to hear it in a different way. So I would say be creative and continue on your journey. I think mega band like Mayday, if they wanted to cross into the North American region with their music, they would have to do the work. I would say they would have to probably find bands that are just similar to them and partner with. I would say collaboration is probably the number one way to have the cross-section of audiences. I would say whether the labels need to meet, I would say maybe one of those artists should be featured on one of their songs so that they can pool those demographics together. If you have not been to Taiwan and you haven't experienced the festival, I would say come and experience it. It shouldn't be a barrier for you to at least open your eyes to a window of the culture, because there's so many facets to Taiwan, whether it's in film, whether it's talking to the curators, whether it's coming to see a visual art exhibit. Everything is done with intention at TAIWANfest. So my advice would be to just come and get a taste of it. Not only the food, but get a taste of the culture, just because they are very intentional in what they're trying to introduce to the Canadian scene, to Toronto, to Vancouver, to the world. There's something for everyone. And so you may be engaged in a film, but then realize once you're on site, you want to see an exhibition, or you'll catch an orchestra. If you're all about the environment, there is always something to learn about with TAIWANfest, whether they're connected to a foundation that brings awareness to an issue that's happening on the other side of the world, including Africa. It's just always something to discover if you come down. Just experience it for yourself, or take a look on their website to see past years, what you may have missed. Do a little bit of research and then check it out. TAIWANfest, why it's truly needed in Toronto is because you guys bring such a warm culture and a different type of vibe. Why it's important to Toronto? Because I think it's always allowing our audience to think. We definitely enjoy the cuisine, hands down. I think for the fashion, the art, the music, and the history that you're able to relate back from what happened then to today. And so I would say the maybe Canadianized Taiwanese community can see what's happening back in Taiwan. I feel that you guys do really well with curating what's happening or trending there and bringing it to Toronto. When you were partnering with 5 other Asian countries, that really opened up Taiwan to the connection with other cultures. Doing that crossover allowed you to see similarities in the Asian culture, but also the diversity and the difference that's there. I feel like you were able to give everyone maybe the knowledge that they may not have known, and maybe broke some stereotypes, just because I think people have their own beliefs of what they think Asian culture is or what it looks like. I think you've opened up that window for people to look in and explore for themselves, because I think you leave it on the table. You don't necessarily force it to anyone, but the fact that you're collaborative with other countries definitely highlights some harmonies and also some very unique differences. Being a part of TAIWANfest definitely opened me up to the cuisine, how hospitable everybody is. I don't necessarily think I needed to be prepared because I felt comfortable. I didn't have any preconceived type of notions just because I've seen videos just through your festival. Once I got to Taiwan, hello. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The history that Taiwan has, the architecture that's there, the markets, the sampling, and just interacting with people. I've never felt disrespected, like I didn't belong somewhere. It was so warm. Anytime I get invited to go back to Taiwan, that was no question. I have no hesitation with Taiwan. It is like A++ treatment. Your culture is steeped into how proud your culture is. It just didn't matter where I was welcomed. In terms of various cultural hubs in Taiwan, they are diverse. They have their own spaces and places. In the tourist areas, it was just fine. You would see every culture there. I think Taiwan could be a mecca for more diversity if it pushed to get that marketing out there. I definitely feel that after COVID, Taiwan is going to be one of the places that people will drive to, and I mean by fly, but like push and go to. Part of the reason I believe that Taiwan did so well with COVID is your leadership. I think your leadership was superb and they moved really quickly. That was one thing that was done very swiftly. Your leadership is also giving, trying to teach other practices to other countries and lending a hand there. And again, everybody asked me, where would I go if I was able to take a flight right now? And that was my answer, was Taiwan. Just because of how quick you guys were able to adapt and how you turned that around and then ready to help other nations like that. So I would say your leadership was stellar. Naturally, I am Canadian. My parents are Jamaican and Indian Jamaican and Chinese Jamaican. So that is in itself opening me to a lot of culture with my background, and I'm able to share that in any spaces that I go to, whether I'm meeting people for the first time. It's a part of me, I can't hide it. Very proud of where I come from. Normally, the conversation ends up in recipes and food. You know, what is ackee? How do you cook that type of thing? So food is always a huge part of my culture. Whatever spaces I walk into, I'm able to bring all of those cultures together, and then even pieces of other cultures, just because I adapt and I'm able to learn from others, and I take that with me. Things people misunderstand about me, if you don't know me, you probably think I have a strong voice. People have waited for a year to speak to me because they think I may yell at them, or I'm aggressive, or I am like the angry Black woman. But again, this is after people get to know me, and then they talk to me afterwards, and it's so silly. It's like, I didn't know how funny you were. I didn't know that was you. Oh my gosh, after you gave that speech, I had to come and say hi. To me, it's really ridiculous. I think the least you could do is say hello, and then figure out for yourself if you want to continue saying hi or if you want to be standoffish. Once you assume, it just gets out of hand, and then you build things in your mind that don't exist. And so I am happy to squash all of those stereotypes. So yeah, for sure, it gets uncomfortable, but then you understand over time that people have their own biases and stereotypes, and it's meant to be broken, and I'm happy to do that. I am Diana Webley from Harbourfront Centre, and I am different just like you.